Welcome back. My name is Sasha Struthers. I'm an attorney here in Los Angeles. Today I'm doing just a little video on what value add means. When I got into managing real estate a few years ago, I knew nothing really about income property real estate. And I always see value add. I eventually learned what it's about. So the other day, I think it was my brother or someone asked me what value add opportunity meant. So I was like, oh, that might be like a helpful video for, someone snooping around Zillow and they see that, like as if it's kind of a bonus. So value add typically means one of three things. The rents are low, the property needs improvements, or the property should be redeveloped. Value add typically applies to some sort of income producing property or investment property. So if it's property that's like a duplex, it has at least 2 units, typically that's, as far as an income property goes, you need at least 2 units. Single family residences can be income properties, but that's typically like high-end residential, and that's usually not the main reason why people buy houses. Sometimes it is, but mostly you're buying a duplex, 2 or more, to have some sort of income producing property. So when it says value add, typically it means that the rents are low. So in rent controlled areas, the rent is controlled. So you can only raise the rent so much and only so often. So for instance, in LA, you couldn't raise rents and for rent controlled units, and you still can't raise them in LA City through January 2024. So in February 2024 is the next time you could raise rents. So in the event that you have this income property and the value add is that it has low rents, what people typically do is they do buyouts. So they try to offer tenants money to permanently move out of the unit so that they can rehab the unit, then get market rent. If the property is delivered vacant, it has multiple units but it's delivered vacant, then the value add is that the units need some sort of upgrades. So that's kind of the next prong. The property needs major improvements. So major improvements typically mean that either like the plumbing needs to be redone in the building, the electrical needs to be upgraded in the building, property needs a new roof, maybe if it's subject to a seismic retrofit ordinance that the building needs to be retrofitted, or it has a lot of deferred maintenance, etc., etc. Those would be major improvements. If the property has vacancies, then those units are probably outdated and need cosmetic work. So they need paint, they need new flooring, they maybe need new cabinets, upgraded lighting. What is the other thing? Oh, and appliances. So that would be on you to make those upgrades to the unit so that you could attract higher paying tenants or, when you release it. Leasing is getting pretty competitive, especially in LA, because there's just a lot of vacant units kind of now on the market. When you have a value add and the rents are either low or you do have vacancies, probably means that the property itself needs work. Another overlooked aspect of a property, though it's, usually outside of someone's budget, is curb appeal. So the third one would be that the property probably should be redeveloped. This is pretty common for properties that have houses on them. Maybe it's a duplex or a triplex, or it has some sort of maybe like 4 units, but it would be better served if the building was torn down and something was built in its place. This happens a lot of the times with houses, where the houses are either really small, they have a footprint that no longer makes any sense, so they face some sort of functional obsolescence in that the floor plan doesn't make sense and it would cost too much to remodel, or if you remodeled it, it wouldn't give you the same value as if you were to tear it down and build something with more square footage. So I've seen that a lot in like LA. You'll see it, they're called infill projects. So there'll be either a duplex or a triplex, even 4 units that are knocked down and replaced with newer buildings, newer units, or houses that are taken down and they're replaced with, depending how big the lot, either an apartment building or some sort of condominiums. And that's a term that appraisers use. It's called highest and best use. So property, let's say you look at a house and right now it has a house on it. But given what's going on in the changing landscape of the area, the highest and best use may no longer be a house. It might be, this area it has a lot more multifamily. People, there's more 4 units going in. There's a lot of higher density coming around. There's maybe incentives for higher density. There's maybe incentives for redeveloping these areas. So the highest and best use no longer is just keeping that house. It might be to demolish the house and to put something in its place. So if those are the case, either low rents, there need to be improvements, or the property should probably be redeveloped, then that oftentimes changes or affects the price of it, because you as the buyer have to step in and do a lot of of work to make that property work for you. And it definitely have to do a lot of work if you have to cover the note on it. And it means you have to put a lot more money down, or you have to put a lot more money into rehabbing the property. A lot of the times when you see properties that need to get redeveloped, they still maintain the tenants, or they try to lease it. Like if it's a house, they try to lease it while they get it entitled. And what entitled means is you go and you submit plans to the city, and then you get eventually approved plans where the city goes, okay, based on these plans, we'll issue you a permit. And then sometimes developers do develop it, or other times they might sell the property to someone else. So they work and they do the entitling and they get approved plans, and then they sell the property with approved plans to like another developer. Tips for if you are looking into a property that's labeled value add is one, you look at the appraisal. Every time someone buys a property, usually an appraisal, especially if there's going to be a loan in place. So look at the appraisal, see maybe what the highest and best use would be per the appraiser, see what's going on in the area, and do your due diligence. If there's any actually kind of a fourth reason why. It's like a kind of a bonus. It's the same thing as needs a lot of work, but sometimes value add means that there's code enforcement issues. So maybe the owner has been cited and they have to make repairs, but they don't have the money to make the repairs. So they try to sell the building, or the building has some sort of code enforcement, violation, or they've gone really far along in that process with the city. So you always want to do your due diligence and make sure that you do the research, check public records to find that information. The seller should tell you that. That's part of the disclosures. And on your own, you want to do your research, check through housing, check through the building department to see if there's any open citations on it. If you're going to buy a property and you're going to keep it as an income property, you might want to inquire about if the tenants would be willing to be bought out, if they've tried that already. And then you yourself are going to want to have some sort of buyout budget, and don't guarantee that you're going to get a buyout. Buyouts are voluntary agreements between landlords and tenants. Tenants absolutely do not have to partake in a buyout. A lot of them do. Have a budget for that. Have reserves. So if you're buying a property, maybe there's vacancies or there's a lot of work that needs to be done on it. You ideally, I know this is a lot in the magical world, you want about 3 to 6 months of reserves. If you want to be super conservative, your reserves should include your mortgage, principal and interest. If you finance your insurance premium, usually for smaller buildings, the premium's not that expensive. But for some reason, if you financed it, you want to have a few months covered for that payment. You want to have allocations set aside for the property taxes and also for the supplemental. Whenever you buy a property, there's a supplemental tax bill in LA County. I don't know if that's true everywhere. I obviously know a lot about LA County. You have property taxes, you want to allocate money every month for that, and utilities. So you want to have some sort of reserve just in case something goes wrong, you have the money to keep going. And if you want to be more conservative, have extra money for unforeseen, repairs that have to go on with the building. And then lastly, if you're in the process of potentially buying, then you might want to talk to your real estate agent about credits. Credits is different than getting a discount or having the purchase price be lower. The credits are at the end, the seller gives you money back as an incentive for you to purchase the property. So sometimes people get credits, like if you need a roof repair, or maybe the roof needs to be completely replaced, the seller will give you credit, they'll give you money back. And the idea is you're supposed to use that money to do the roof repair. Rather than them just slash the price of the building, you're able to get money back. So your real estate agent should be able to explain that to you, but it's very common for buyers to get credits so they have that money to use to start contributing towards the value add items that they need to address. So that's just a quick little video on that. I hope it was helpful. I have to plug my newsletter because I'm very proud of it. But I do have a weekly newsletter, so I do give a lot of kind of relevant news in California, LA, or in the country for real estate, and then have some general insight. So every Sunday I send that out. It's completely free. I'll leave a link below. If you like this video, please at least bare minimum like it so I have an idea that I'm covering topics that people are interested in. If you have any ideas for topics that you want covered, definitely leave a comment for that. And thank you.